he had to put the veil because the light was too much. You understand? That's what it says.
It doesn't mention any light. Sure.
No, that light.
Oh no?
The light that you can't. The light that you can't.
So light is out of this world.
Excuse me. You believe in the Quran?
The light is out of this world.
This is from the Quran. This is from the Quran. This is not from the Quran.
Okay. I was going by your standards.
My dear lady.
It's in the Quran.
I was going by your standards.
If you read it the Quran.
I was going by your standards.
So what you're asking for is this. Look, the amount. Let's go back. The amount of evidence. We're saying no. This is not how the evidence works, because what we are saying to establish. Listen carefully.
I showed it to you. Thank you.
I have seen. I have heard. Sorry, I've heard.
Can you show it to me in your hadith?
Hang on.
Because I asked you before even I asked you.
Listen.
I asked you.
Listen. This comes from a particular text written by a particular individual. Right?
Sorry.
One moment. Did this event get narrated by people who witnessed this event?
Yes.
So the person who wrote it is the person who witnessed it.
They were witnesses, yes.
Hang on. This is translated from a manuscript.
They didn't write. The Jews didn't write, but the Jews what?
Let's look at your evidence that you're seeking. So you have a text that is almost 1,000 years. That text that you have from manuscript is almost 1,000 years later.
Okay, Moses.
Are you listening?
The first five books.
Text.
The first five books.
The earliest manuscripts of the Torah dates from which time?
I thought, you see, you're throwing me questions, but you don't want it.
I'm just telling you.
You don't want.
You are providing me a text.
Show me in the hadith proofs that it says that people and that Muhammad wasn't alone, and that people saw. Okay.
When they saw water flowing from his fingers and it quenched the thirst of the people, is that out of the ordinary? When people saw by spitting, pointing to the moon, and he split the moon, is out of the world.
Let's not go there.
Let's not go there. Why not?
Let's stay with a proof that gives me chance to come to Islam, that says that Muhammad, Gabriel gave the book to or gave the words or came to Muhammad, because I said Joseph Smith happened the same thing. Okay, if I ask them, they will say.
What did happen to Joseph Smith?
The angel came.
And what did he bring?
One night.
What did he bring? Okay, what did he bring? The book. Let's examine the book. Is this book providing evidence from God?
According to them, yes.
Well, according to them, what's the evidence provided from God? The book.
According to them.
Yeah. No, according to them, what is the evidence?
What is the evidence? What is the evidence provided from God in your Quran?
That's exactly what I was trying to do. Thank you, my dear lady. The Quran itself gives evidence from God and tells you that it cannot be from anything other than anyone other than God. So there are many things the Quran says. You ask me, what is the evidence the Quran is from God? And then you say, why do you go back to the Quran?
Outside the Quran.
Listen carefully and you will learn. And you will understand what I'm saying.
Like, for example, the atheist will say there is no God, and then if they tell me prove that there's God without using your Bible, can you come down, right? The atheist says there's no God, they don't believe in God, God doesn't exist. And if they say to me, prove that there's God, that there's God outside your Bible, outside your book, I will just say, look at this this creation, okay, cannot be made by nothing, because nothing comes from nothing, okay? That's what I'm looking for from you outside your Quran.
So try to let me finish my point.
Without using your Quran.
She was dealing that.
Are you going to allow me to speak or not?
I will, but
thank you.
If you use your Quran,
Listen, I'm not going to quote anything.
Okay.
I'm not going to read anything. I'm giving you concepts. A book to be from God or not. Now let me take another book. Imagine this is the Bible and this is the Quran, right? Which is the translation. How do we know, how do we ascertain, how do we verify this book is from God or not, this book is from God or not? We cannot simply say, I have faith in this book and it's sufficient. You can believe in any book by that standard, by that criteria. Do you follow so far? If faith alone is, anyone can believe anything by faith, it doesn't make it from God. We have to test and examine these books with certain criteria in mind, at hand. to say if the criteria are met, then we can say that yes, this is from God. If the criteria are not met, so we have to have high standards to establish a book from God or not. Firstly, the book which claims to be from God must claim it's from God. If it doesn't, then it cannot be, even argued upon or say it's from God or not, because the book doesn't claim. First thing, the book must claim it's from God. It's a revelation from God, communication from God. Yeah. It must describe God as He is in His perfection. It cannot say God came and then people chopped His head off and that's it. That's the end of God, because God is eternal and everlasting. It must describe God perfectly. If God described things within this book, it must demonstrate His divine wisdom, that He will describe things in reality, not just like God says, you know what, things which are nonsensical, things which you know to be false, things which you know to be incorrect, things which you know to be an error. For example, if it describes history which God made happen in time, because God is in control of everything, it cannot get the history wrong. If it describes something in the future, prophesizing, it will get it right. Do you agree? One second, let's not go into details yet. Principles first, how we establish. So if a book describes event to happen in the future, it must get it right. If it describes events in the past, it must get it right. Do you agree so far? It cannot contradict the known reality. It cannot say the earth is flat, for example.
My problem is, Mansur, okay, I understand. How do we establish it's from God? The contents of the book will tell you that it's from God.
We establish it, not just tell us. You have to test it.
You have to read, you have to analyze, you have to critical thinking, all this kind of thing. Okay, what I'm saying to you is that I'm putting the Quran with the Mormon book.
Bring the Mormon book.
Because the Mormon book
here is the
also
Mormon
has
book.
Content.
Okay, no problem. Sure, no problem. Imagine now, this is the Mormon book. We've got 3.
It was given by Gabriel, the same as Muhammad. So
now let's test them.
Yours and not
sure, we test the book. The Book of Mormon, does it have a prophecy that came true, all of them?
Does the Quran have a prophecy that came true?
Sorry. We are testing every book that is now on the table. You brought the Book of Mormon, I had the Quran and the Bible, right? So bring the Book of Mormon.
I'm doing this question because
I am saying yes.
Not Mormon.
Everything that the Quran describes to happen in the future, it happened exactly. Anything that the Quran described in the past, it was accurately described.
Like what? I don't know.
Go and pray for it. You can pray later, inshallah. No problem.
Like what?
Now,
like what?
When the Quran describes about the nations of the past, for example, say Egyptian nation, Egypt and their gods, it describes about them that they believe themselves to be God, and not even that, the Most High. This information wasn't known until the hieroglyphics was rediscovered. That some of the pharaohs considered them to be God, the Most High.
Who considered them to be God? Who's them?
Some of the pharaohs
consider themselves to be God.
Muhammad was a non-Jew prophet.
Muhammad didn't exist.
So when the Quran describes this event of the past and gets it right, you should.
Muhammad heard from here, from there. There are many
the
things.
Egyptians writing here.
Brother,
was only deciphered in the past 2
Muhammad
centuries.
heard many things and took it from here and from there. He copied past the Bible. There are so many things similar to the.
I can see your reasoning. So let's address that point. Now, I'll address that in 2 points. One about the Bible and one about the Quran. The hieroglyphics, which describes the pharaohs considered them to be God was not being read by people because people forgot how to read them.
Chapter 3, verse
So
16.
there is no one prior to being discovered in its what it means. Okay, can you name me? Are you going to let me finish that?
No, because you're saying something that is, I'm sorry, right now it's not making sense. It's the first thing that you're saying, it's not making sense. Because
Look, I cannot apologize for your not reading enough.
No, it's not the
What
reading.
I'm saying,
no, it's not
allow
the
me to finish my point.
What you're saying is, nobody could have known that the Egyptians called themselves God.
Yes.
Oh, wait a minute.
Who knew?
Wait a minute.
Who knew?
Wait a minute. Okay. The Egyptians have many celebrations that celebrate stuff that were invented or came about like 1,000 years ago, and they still remember. And so does the Jews. They carry their stuff mouth by mouth. Are you telling me, do you need to read to know what happened in the past? When our generation can be passed on. Come on.
Let me ask you this question once more.
Why don't you tell me? Grab some boots.
Who? Excuse me, brothers, ignore him.
Should we move up? Should we move up?
No. We're not going to move up. He's gonna preach his own preaching.
And you tell me yourself.
My friend, preach whatever you have to preach, right? No one's gonna read the Bible. Read the Bible. Doesn't matter. Read the Bible. Right. Thank you. Now, my dear lady, brother.
I understand how you saw it, but calm it down. Calm it down. Calm it down. Let's all calm it down.
Who do you know that knew that the pharaohs considered themselves to be gods? Who do you know? Who have you read? Have you read the books?
I didn't read books, but I saw movies. Like 2 movies.
Do you know that only after the discovery of the Rosetta Stone, Champollion, who deciphered the hieroglyphics, we came to know these things. Prior to that, we were not privy to the information.
Mouth by mouth.
Listen. You're making
What
just...
happened to the things that they celebrate that were invented thousands of years ago? Okay, 400,000 of years ago, and so even the Jews, they have celebrations that were thousands of years ago, and they determined to celebrate and pass on to their generation mouth through mouth, and even God commanded them to pass on to generation.
Who from mouth to mouth pass that information?
Excuse me.
No problem. No problem. Which people, prior to the advent of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, which people mentioned this information from mouth to mouth?
About the Egyptians.
Yeah. You just made a claim.
No, I'm saying it is not. It doesn't make sense that you say that people can't keep something that happened in the past without written in the book. Of course they can. Of course they can.
You didn't understand my argument. I am saying the Quran resurrects historical events which people totally forgot during the time of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, even before.
The Bible is the Quran.
Okay, so now you've realized my point. I've addressed that. My second point. You seem to think the Quran copies the information from the Bible, right?
From the Torah and the Bible. Yeah.
Sure. Have you heard of the Gilgamesh epic? The Atrahasis epic? The Enuma Elish epic? They predate the Bible by thousands of years. And guess what? They talk about the flood, the rescue, the person, the people, the boat, Utnapishtim. All of these information.
No, you see your brother. Sorry, thank you so much. I am not going to do that.
Hang on. He's not recording.
Dishonest person. You people dishonest. He told you many times not to film me, and I asked you not to film me. Okay? You're filming. Don't lie. You're filming me. I saw it. I was telling that you're filming me. You have to respect. I said, I know this is Speaker's Corner. All right. I said because you're allowed to film whatever. Okay. But I said to Mansur, if you're filming, I am going to leave it. I am going to leave it.
Do you want to delete
but
it?
you said you wasn't.
Is it okay if he deletes it?
No.
Yeah, and we continue, right?
I said if he was filming, I wasn't going.
He apologized. He said sorry. So let him delete it. Now, the point I was making about the Gilgamesh epic and others is this. These predates the Bible for thousands of years. Some of them 1,500 years, 1,600 years, and so on, right? Very, very earlier than the Bible. They talk about flood stories, creation stories, and the way they talk about the order. We know from comparing the stories of those tablets and the Torah, there are at least 17 instances of similarities in chronological order. One can easily say, using your, sure, take it, please. Hello? Okay, thank you.
Is she on a phone call, Brother Mansur? What's going on?
No, she's got a call.
I know. Okay, bye.
That's right, no problem, no problem. So as I was saying, there are at least 17 instances of similarities in chronological order. One can easily say, with enough supporting evidence, if they want to, like they have done by the scholars of ancient Near Eastern texts, that the Bible copied and plagiarized from those tablets. They said that, and it's there in academic studies and academic journals and books, that the Bible is guilty of plagiarism, literal plagiarism, because there are 17 instances in chronological order. So the Bible is academically proven to have been plagiarized from this ancient Near Eastern text from Akkadian, Babylonia, Mesopotamia, and Ugarit.
Which part?
The creation stories and flood. So if you use this argument, you have to now say the Bible was indeed copied from them.
No, but wait a minute. The Bible admits that we use the Torah, okay? Right? If I use your material and I ask permission to use your material, that's not plagiarism, okay? Because I asked your permission, you gave me permission. But the Bible, the same way, the First Testament, we know the First Testament belongs to Israel, and it belongs to Torah, okay, and it belongs to, what's the other one? What's the other book of the Jews? You know,
so they have Tanakh, Torah, Nebiim, Ketubim. The Torah, the prophets, and the books. Torah, Nebiim, prophets, Ketubim, books.
No,
that's the Tanakh.
No, there's the Torah, and there's the other book. I forgot.
Which one? Psalms?
Not the
Mishnah, Talmud, Tarbut.
The Jews book. Where the prophecy of Prophet Isaiah is, and Prophet Jeremiah, and all these books, yeah? Okay. So we understand that we took those books from them, which is the First Testament. If you told me or showed to me evidences that there were plagiarism with the Second Testament, then that would be something else. Because the First Testament, we know it came from the Jews. But what I'm saying here is that still, it seems as if we're not going to get anywhere, because all I wanted is to know, why should I believe in Muhammad?
I was about to establish that with criteria. So the point about plagiarism, I think we misunderstood my dear lady. I was saying the Torah, the Old Testament, according to the scholars of ancient Near Eastern text, is plagiarized from the Enuma Elish, Gilgamesh epic, and Atrahasis epic, which predates the Torah by thousands of years. Using your own logic or own reasoning, you have to admit and say, yes, according to my reasoning, the Torah is borrowed from those tablets, cuneiform tablets. No, you can read about it later.
Yeah, okay.
I'm not saying don't accept it,
Yeah.
but if you use the reasoning consistently, you have to reject the Torah because it's been borrowed from the ancient Near Eastern text. But the other answer is actually more plausible. In reality, when God interacted with the people and there was a flood, this is history. People narrated history as much as they could write in their writing, in their oral traditions. People wrote it in tablets. with exaggerations and embellishment and so on, and that's just surviving. Likewise, these stories have been transmitted in many other cultures and many other places. The Quran says this revelation is coming from the same God that gave the Torah, that gave the Injil. It's the same source. It narrates to us history, what happened, because the Quran cannot just simply ignore the mighty prophets and messengers that Allah sent, because they are our prophets. We learn from them. Allah gives them their examples. There are many examples of those prophets Allah provided for our own understanding of the reality, what happened before. What did the prophets bring? How they were successful, the people, by believing in the prophets, and how they were in ruin because they disbelieved in the prophets, how they were destroyed.
There were many witnesses.
Yeah. So the Quran.
There are many witnesses.
Okay. So now let's come back to the Quran.
This one, the problem is one.
Excuse me. The Quran is not one person. The Quran is a revelation from Allah that has now been able. That is now at our disposal for testing. If we apply those tests, can you find an error in the Quran? A contradiction, a discrepancy? This is even the challenge of the Quran is. Because if a book which claims to be from God, now hear this carefully. If a book is from God or claims to be from God, you would expect it to be free from errors, contradiction and discrepancies.
I am still reading the Quran.
Do you agree?
I'm still reading.
Do you agree?
I agree, but I'm still reading the Quran. But I believe there's many errors.
Look.
Which is he just mentioned, the one that says that the sun sets in the mud of puddle. Muddy puddle. Yes.
But obviously, you haven't been reading with deep reflection and deep reading.
The
Quran. Let me answer the question very clearly. When the 𝐸 went in his travels, and when he reached the place of sunset, it appeared to him, he saw, wajada, ذُوالْقَرْنَيْنِ, the one with two horns, the narration about that person, right? He saw the sun setting. When you go to a beach, do you see the sun setting in the ocean?
If I go to Rio, yeah.
So when Allah describes you, for example, that you went to the beach and listen please, and then Allah said, and you saw the sun setting in the beach, is that an error? Would that be an error?
Sorry, I got distracted. Okay. Your brother just
if God was describing you, that you went to the beach near the oceans and you saw the sun setting, or you were behind the mountain and you saw this mountain setting behind the sun setting behind the mountains, or behind the tree, right? And if God said you saw the setting of the sun behind, excuse me, please. If God described that you saw the sun setting in the ocean, is this an error?
Excuse me, I'll tell you something. When I went to Rio de Janeiro, from there you can see it. I sat there and I saw the sun come down. But I know that in my logic it doesn't make sense that the sun is going to go inside the water. So
Did you see the sun going down?
The sun was going down.
Good.
But the
so
sun,
your description, your vision, is that correct or is it an error? When you saw the sun setting in the ocean, when you saw the sun, you're listening.
This is one, actually. This is one.
Listen.
How can Allah pray?
Excuse me, sorry. How does what?
How can Allah pray for Muhammad?
Allah doesn't pray for Muhammad. Where do you get that from?
It does. Your brother Muhammad hijab.
Oh, now he becomes. Hang on. So now Muhammad hijab is a dictionary, right?
Not just here.
So, one second. So, if you say something, I can use that against all the Christians, right? Very good argument. If you say something, I can use that against all the Christians ever, all the time.
I think the Quran said that.
Excuse me. The Quran doesn't. So it's irrelevant. It's irrelevant to bring Muhammad hijab in. right?
No,
So,
I'm just saying
so now,
he admitted.
okay.
It's not as if he's
Listen. We are talking about what the Quran says. I'm not defending Muhammad hijab. He can defend himself.
The Quran says Allah prays for Muhammad.
No, the Quran doesn't say that.
It says. But let's go back to
Hang on.
Let's go back to
Who told you the Quran says
The Quran
that?
says. The Quran, he said the Quran.
Okay.
But let's go back. Let's go back.
No. It's important to establish this, please.
No.
I have, look, 1 moment. Can you hold this, Naveed, can you hold this, please? Do you read Arabic or English is okay for you? As a translation of the Quran? Okay, English translation, right? If I give you 53 English translations, and they... Excuse me. I will answer in 1 minute.
I don't want to talk about this because
the reason why I think you need to really be sincere.
But you're not being sincere on your answers. You haven't told me.
Can I finish my point? Right? Can I finish my point? Allow me. Thank you.
Which one? Which point?
2 points.
Which one?
One about
I need to go into my mind.
Sure. But one about 𝐸𝐤𝐤𝐤. If you saw its setting and God described, you saw its setting, is that an error?
I saw a setting.
So if I now write it,
you're not allowing me to speak.
Go ahead.
In my logic, I was sitting there. I know that it's not going inside the water. It's going somewhere, but not inside the water. Now, if God being God, why would He allow this information to be in your book?
What information?
The information that the sun says in the Bible.
It doesn't say that. It says, this is why you need to listen.
There's 2 parts in 1883 in the Quran and also in the Hadith.
Would you kindly correct the mistakes that you've generated? Go ahead, read it.
He followed the road till when he reached the setting place of the sun, he found it setting in a muddy
Can you repeat that again? Who found it setting? He found it setting.
Yeah, he followed it. This is one account.
Right. Who found it setting? ذوالقرنين. So now, if I write...
My question is, this is the book. This is the book of God.
Look.
Why is it?
You are an intelligent lady. If a book describes...
Stop saying that.
No.
Okay,
I want
you're not
to...
an intelligent lady, I'll say it.
I'm saying...
But I want to address this point.
You're the one who told him not to say that.
See your brother. See your brother.
If I...
See your brother.
Please.
See your brother.
If I say that you... Imagine...
I said see your brother. I didn't say my brother.
Okay, brother.
Sorry, I will have you as a brother. Not because you're Muslim,
Okay.
but because you're very...
Okay, you know what? What's your name?
I'm just...
That's why I will have you. I will have you as my brother.
Can I call him visitor? Okay. Now, dear visitor, if you went to a beach and you saw the sun setting in the ocean, and I described to this lady here, the visitor saw the sun setting in the ocean. Am I making an error? Am I making an error?
I'd say it was a bad description, and in that sense, you see this. No, you've asked me a question.
Am I making an error?
Yes.
What error have I made? What
It's a
kind?
grammatical error.
Which is what?
Is to say that the sun is setting in the water or the beach when it's actually just setting.
So you saw the setting. Let me clarify this point. One second.
Yeah.
Please. You saw. Please don't go away. We were discussing the same subject. You saw in the beach the sun going down in the ocean. You saw that with your very own eyes until it was totally gone. And then I'm relaying the information. The visitor saw with his very own eyes. The visitor saw with his very own eyes